Eastern Time. And LinkedIn, I see you. All right, okay. There we go. Excellent. Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Oh, I say good afternoon. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. My kids go for they take a karate class, and every time they come in, their sessions are typically in the evening, but the instructor will always, welcome and like scream, good morning. And so initially my daughters were like, it's not morning, but found out that's their standard greeting. So I am going, that's my excuse today is going on karate class on you all and saying good morning. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to another episode of Driving Beyond Borders with Namdi. Thank you for being here. I hope you all have had a productive week so far and everything is going swimmingly, exciting. Hope the new year euphoria hasn't completely disappeared. Please don't let it just dissipate like that. I know work has been, intense. We're ramping things up at AIM here, and just everything is like, yeah, the new year is up and running now. But today I have an exciting, topic to get into. If you saw the invites or the thumbnail, you'd have seen career, business, or both. Right, choosing the right focus for this season, choosing what's right for you in this season. One of the biggest questions I hear from my African immigrants is this particular question: Should I focus on my career? Should I start a business? Should I try to do both at the same time? Right. This is a very common question that we have in our community, especially for as we navigate life here and settling in. And now, let's say you're past the stage of, getting your papers, and now you're trying to figure out, well, what does it look like if I wanted to do business here in the United States? Or if I wanted to start my own, get into my entrepreneurship journey? Or should I just go get a job and work my job? Um, and today it's not necessarily about the hype or hustle culture. It's, really my goal is to hopefully help us gain some more clarity. It's about timing, it's about sustainability. That's really what I'm going to frame today's conversation around. But why is this question important, and why if for some it's just a phase, but for us as immigrants this is an important question because where you put your efforts and again planning your future, it's a unique situation that we have to navigate and deal with. I've overemphasized this and I can't stress it enough. Right, the realities for us are a bit different. um Thriving for us is different, expectations for us is different, because we are going beyond just earning for ourselves. We're going beyond just trying to cater for our own needs. Even if you're a single person with no family, but you are an immigrant, chances are you have extended family that you are looking out for. There's pressure from, okay, like my siblings, there is cousins, there's responsibilities, there's obligations, there's obligations that used to be your father's obligations, and now you've inherited them because you're now the one in a position to earn and take care of those things. And so for us, it's different, and so people begin to rightfully so consider, what are my options? Right, if I get into this career and I get this job, is it going to be able to take care of me and pay my bills here in the United States while affording me enough flexibility to also cater to the obligations that I have, right? While still affording me a way to save and invest and build a life beyond for the future, or plan for the future, and all of that. So it's the unique situation that we face, and that is why this question is super valid, right? Our reality is, that pressure to progress quickly, right? Everybody, again, you have that pressure to advance, to start earning, to we don't get the benefit of climbing all the steps one rung at a time. We don't. Once you are here, you are on a very once you land and the clock starts ticking on your immigration journey, it's like, yes, the expectations go from here to now, like, hey, you're there now. when are you going to start sending money back? And so the expectation and the pressure to progress quickly is a real one that a lot of us have to deal with and face. Expectations here, and like I talked about, and back home, there's fear of missing opportunities. You want to maximize your seasons, right? For some of us, we might have had to take a step back to step forward, if you understand what I mean, right? Almost like the she stoops to conquer type of approach, where maybe some people who were highly placed in specific careers made the difficult choice to relocate, maybe because of their kids, and their families and all of that. And so now they have to um, deal with the opportunities. Nobody's offering them that leadership role that they were in, or that title that they used to have back in their home country. And so they're having to step back and kind of rebuild to build back up. And so for people like that, they are almost under the pressure of missing out, right? And so basically, again, our experiences are different. That's all I'm trying to really stress, with this. And it's important to ask this question: what is best for me, based on my goals, based on the seasons of my life, or the season of my life that I'm in, and based on the expectations and obligations that I have, right? But trying to do everything at once means not doing anything well, right? You want to dabble into everything, and that is one mistake I've seen a lot of friends and fellow immigrants navigating the journey like myself have made, is opting to really try everything, and not stay with one thing long enough, or trying to do too much at the same time. And what that means is you're not focused, you're not giving your best to any of them, you're not giving all of your effort and energies. It's like you're spread thin trying to do all of this. And so the first thing I want to emphasize to you is normalize seasons, right? It's not about um, there's what you're supposed to be doing now, based on where you are, based on the capacity you have, right? It's okay to be in a season where I'm working a job because it gives me or affords me consistent, predictable income to take care of things that I need to take care of, right? For some, they're in a phase where this is not going to work. I need to have flexibility of my time. I need to be able to travel. Maybe there are people I know who still are very invested in their home countries and have to travel for business and for work. And so whatever you do, but they need to still earn a living, earn something here in dollars so they can afford to pay bills. Because one of the most difficult things you can do, and I've spoken to, I recently was speaking to our older gentleman, and he was talking about how he basically earns in the national currency of his home country and uses that to pay for his lifestyle here. That means paying rent, and the border house, or paying mortgage, and sending the kids to school, and all of that. That's a hassle. So what people have seen people try to do is, well, I need to be doing something here where I can earn in dollars, so I can cater to the bills here while I still go back and forth to running my business, my what I've worked hard all my life to build, right? So it's about, again, normalize the season that you're in, and cater your choices to serve you well or serve you best for the season that you're in. And this is where we have to have an honest conversation with ourselves. You have to have that, like, this is where I right now. This is what I'm able to do. This is this is mandatory for me, or this, like, what are the non-negotiables, right? If it's family obligation, kids are in school, we have this mortgage, I can't afford to not know, right? I can't afford the unpredictability of entrepreneurship or starting a business. Get a job, right? And for somebody who's like, man, I need to just, I have this window of time where I can stretch myself, and I really have wanted to start this business, and it's looking like it's a trend and it's a time, and there's an opportunity here for me to maximize. Go start your business, right? It's about looking at the season that you're in. All right. So there are three different paths that you can, that we're going to explore. You already kind of figured it out, right? If you're navigating, there's a career focused season, right? Again, the career focused season is best when you need stability, Again, predictable. You want that predictable income. You want that, every 2 weeks the money is going to be in the bank and it's going to afford you. You can pay rent, you can pay mortgage, you can pay for childcare, you can afford groceries, you can do those things, right? It's that's that for that season where stability, especially if you have young family. This is my thing. You have a young family, you can afford certain gambles. I mean, you can, but it's you again. Everybody's situations are different. If you have a young family, if you and or you have an income, wife has an income, or it's a one income family, maybe one person is still going through the immigration process and one person is good. Like you have to look at all of these things. But if you're in a season where stability is priority, that's your career focus season, right? You need stability. You're navigating immigration. Maybe you're on OPT. You're trying to deal with your EB2, EB1s. Processing your green card. Steady is good. Steady, predictable is good, right? You have little children. You need benefits. And I have done this before. Where you're paying for benefits out of pocket. Yeah, it's crazy, right? But you need help paying for like health insurance. That's what I mean. Paying for healthcare, health insurance, paying for these things yourself, having to get in the marketplace, and you now start making trades that you might not want to make. Things around maybe even medical insurance, um, dental, all of these things. You get them from a job, and that might be the season that you're in again. Where hey, I have 3 kids, um, and so predictability, stability is important. And then that age is where they are asking questions. They are, building relationships. They have their friends. Um, you know, everything has to have, it's built around. There's a level of stability that they require to have a family. All of that. So that's your career season, right? You're early in your US journey. Again, like I just talked about, you're still OPT H1B stages. That's not the time to be exploring. What you need is predictability. I have this job, they're doing my sponsorship, they're filing for my immigration. I'm staying here, I'm sitting my tail down. Right? Maybe you're at a place where you still need to equip yourself because you don't have enough expertise or experience, right? Maybe you just graduated your master's program, or you've come here and you realize, hey, I need to upskill so I can be relevant in the market, in the US job or workforce. And you're going through a season where you are building your skill set, you are equipping yourself to be better positioned, to earn better, to contribute better in the marketplace. Then that might be a career focused season for you. Okay. And the risk of misusing this season is staying too long out of fear, right? Or some people, and this is something. If you're an entrepreneur, some people will stay here and that's good for them. There are people who are career people who will rise in the ranks, become, get into leadership and high six figures, and be okay, retire with a couple $1 million in retirement and be fine. So this is not a bad part if that's the part for you. Okay. But if you are not one who is about that office life and where they'll stay, then when you're in this season, make sure you are paying attention to when it's time, that fear is not what's holding you back, right? You don't want to, you risk losing your long-term vision and your, the long-term visions and ambitions and goals you had. You risk losing them if you stay too long in this season out of fear. And so I want to also remind you, like, don't throw away your vision, your goals, your ambitions because of the comfort that comes with the season or because of the fear of the stability you will lose if you get out. But just make sure that, again, before you start to venture, that you have your base stable. One thing about this season for me, and I've gone through this, yeah, I'm literally speaking out of personal experience with this in a lot of ways. Is as you're building your skills, you're learning the world of work, you're learning navigating culture and how business works, how entrepreneurship works. It becomes, and then you are also creating a skill. You know what the market is looking for. If for any reason you leave this season or you leave this phase and decide I want to go entrepreneurship, and you have to fall back, you already have a skill set that you have tested in the market. You already understand how the market works. You can get back in and get a job, right? So that's something to keep in mind, and why I want you to think about maximizing this season, but also knowing when it's time to jump ship, right? The key question is my career building leverage, or am I just paying bills? And this is super important, right? Again, make sure that every day you are going to work, you are equipping yourself for the future you envision, right? Yes, the goal, right? I'm in a season where I need to stay put. I'm in a season now where I need to um, not take too much risk. Kids are in school, all of that. While you're in this season, make sure you are building leverage for the future. You should platform yourself, you should position yourself, you start making connections with intention of leveraging them in the future when it's time to jump. You know what you're trying to, you know what your goals are, you know what you're trying to build, you know what you're trying to accomplish. And so it's important to use the season where the focus is career, and start making moves with preparing you for the next season. In fact, it's the things you do now that will inform, a lot of the time, inform your readiness to take the next step. All right. So that's season one. That's the first part. The second part is the business focus season. In this season, this is best when you have clarity on a problem you can solve. You have a skill that you can use to that is value enough for people to pay you for, right? You have the capacity, you have products that people will pay you for. You have services you can offer that people will pay for, and you have built it to a level where it's ready for people to start paying for, right? You have clarity on the problem you want to solve. What is the need that you want to meet, or you plan to meet? When you have clarity on that, that's how you can tell you're in your business focus season, right? Another reason, another how way you're in this season is you've built some financial leeway, right? You have a runway to, again, should in case, right? Like I say, should in case of incasity. should, right, should in case, just in case, just what else is should in case? I was throwing that trade around back in the day, like one more case, like should in case of incasity. Right? It was just random stuff like that. But just in case anything, you like, this is you've built some financial runway. You have enough money to start. You have enough money to cater and take care of yourself. Because for the first few months and even year, maybe more of starting the business, you might not be profitable. You might not even earn as much, right? You might be putting more than you're getting back. And so having some enough of a safety net financially is important to have before you jump. Again, this is very important. So you know the problem you want to solve. You've built some capacity financially, right? You've built enough of a cushion to to carry you in the seasons where the business is just picking up. Um, and then you have a skill set that is market ready, right? Some people are coaches. They have something, they are skilled in a specific area, and they can help a particular group of people. And so they have this skill and they have this capacity. They're able to use to drive value to people. That's a market ready skill set, right? You can, some people, it's, oh, you know what, I used to do cars back home. I was a mechanic. I have experience doing that. Now that I have some stability and I have some money saved, I want to get back into doing this, at scale. That's a skill set that is market ready, right? You've worked on commercial vehicles, all of those things. You're able to offer consulting services and work with businesses in a certain capacity. It's market ready skill set. So you know what yours is. You audit the skills you already have. Is it ready? Does it serve a big enough market that will pay you? Right? Does it serve do you have a ready market, that is willing to pay for this thing? Right? There are skills you have. It's a skill, but it's nobody's paying for that, right? So, I'm not going to throw shade. I had some examples came to my head. I'm going to skip it and not talk about it, so nobody feels like I'm dissing what they do. Um, but again, this is how you're in business focus season, where you're ready to take that leap, where you're ready to make that move, right? You have clarity on the problem you want to solve. You have some financial leeway that you've built up. You have some financial cushion to last you a season, even if your business is not bringing in as much as expected. There is, again, at the foundational stages, that's always almost always the case. From personal experience and from every person I have studied who got into entrepreneurship. Um, and you have a skill that's market ready. You have something that you can offer the market, whether it's a skill, product, service. You have something that is market ready, that's solving the problem that you've identified. Then you're ready. You're in that business focus season. Now, if you jump into this prematurely, there are some risks. Some people are like, "Nah, I can't just work for anybody." I know people who have said that, like, I don't see myself ever working in an office, being, working and working for someone or doing that. And again, those things are not, I'm not mad at anybody um, who feels that way, as long as it's not from a place of pride or arrogance, and you just feel like I'm not built for this kind of life. I do my thing, I operate a certain way, and that's okay. That's basically, I'm saying that's fine. Um, but jumping into the stage prematurely can lead to some unintended consequences, because a lot of times, if you're entrepreneurially minded and you're vision driven, and I get to be like this sometimes, where I only see the positive outcomes. I only see what's like, I see the end, I see the vision, I see what this can become, and that's my obsession. And you don't see the steps that lead to it, right? I mean, you know the steps, but you don't really see, completely look at that. So I know, hey, when this thing gets to full maturation, it's going to impact million people. It's going to change 1,000 lives. It's going to do all of these great things, and then there's going to be resources unlimited, and we're going to have a staff and a team and of people across the country, and hire, work with interns and work with institutions, all of that good stuff. And so I get obsessed with this big picture, and you forget about the immediate, where during that season where you have to build up to that point. And so if you get carried away and you jump into this prematurely because of the excitement of the picture that you have in your mind, that vision, um, some risk are, it's, financial stress. Again, bills are real, because now if you're living a place where you had a steady job and you built a lifestyle around the income that always came in, and those first few months, it's not coming the way it came, or the amount of money is not as much as it used to be, because you're just building and you're just putting things together. It's going to put financial stress. It's going to be financially stressful. So that's a risk if this is done prematurely. Um, Burnout is real. Again, if this is done prematurely, you can burn yourself out, because at the foundations of most businesses, you're everything as the founder. You are the one who is, you know you're the one who's taking the calls, you're the one taking the meetings, you're the one designing the product, you're doing the website, your customer service, your HR, you are everything at every point to everyone. And it can lead to burnout if not planned well. Now, one of the things I'm most grateful for, that most business owners, founders of this era will should be grateful for, is artificial intelligence, AI, because there's a lot of resources now and a lot of platforms that help you with automation. So things around, and that's something you should consider. Sidebar, you should definitely consider leverage, investing and one in the knowledge of artificial intelligence, becoming proficient to an extent in that. If you're going into business, there are certain things that you might be able to leverage AI for, taking calls, follow-ups, scheduling appointments, those type, routine tasks. You can might be able to, especially when you're just starting out, at least make sure no calls are missed, appointments are not missed, things like that, emails are sent out, campaigns are going out, all of those things, leverage AI for this. But burnout can happen basically if, because it's you doing a lot of it, and then another risk you can run if you start this prematurely is you're building out of desperation, right? Remember the case study I described earlier, where this person is, man, I just can't work for anybody, or I don't see myself as a work in the office kind of guy. And so, man, you are desperate to not be this person, and you start without a plan, without a strategy, and it's just hustle. It's just, I'm just gonna go out there and make something happen. You know, Now you're building a business on desperation, not on strategy, right? And so the question you have to ask, am I building from a prepared place, from preparation, or from pressure, right? That's a very important question. So that's one part. One is a career focused part, when you're in that career focused season. There's a second part for the business focus season. Again, you have clarity on the problem that you're looking to solve. You have the financial cushion. You have a skill set that is market ready, and then there is also the hybrid part, right? This one is nice, right? It's a good, uh, um, it's also a good one. Again, speaking from experience, currently in this phase right now, that's where your career plus business. This is the hybrid part. So you're a career person plus you have your business. You know, there's people who call this a side hustle. Like you have to now generally ask yourself the question, which one is the side hustle? You have your 9 to 5 and then your 5 to 9. I was telling my wife about this the other day because we have a culture of just rising up early. More gets done earlier because later the 5 to 9 evening doesn't work for us because again that's when the children also demand what they demand. We have little kids, not so little kids, 6, 8, 10 year olds. So they are doing homework, they have activities after school, they have different things. And so 5 to 9 is not working. 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. is not our own 5 to 9. So our 5 to 9 has to be early in the morning. So that's where you get in work, do all of the things, send out, set things up. So mornings are very busy for us because we have to get things out of the way before people start rising up and getting jumpy. All right. So the hybrid part, this is best when career income funds business growth. Right. You have enough cushion financially from your job that's helping you that you can start putting into your business. Again, you don't want to this should not be a long-term play. At some point, the business has to fund itself and take care of itself, and begin to ease you out of the career. Except you really want to stay in that career, it should be optional at some point, where the business is doing well enough to where I can do this fully and be okay. And then I'm doing the career because if I stay in the career, that's because I love it. But getting into choosing the spot means have a job that can pay my bills, take care of my obligations, but also, I have enough loose to invest in this business and, be the initial capital that's driving this business and, growing it, right? This is also best when time boundaries are clear. Again, you know when the time for work is. You want to work when it's time to work. You want to. I'm an advocate for, do your job when it's time to do your job. On your employer's time, make sure you're doing your work, and then it's the time boundaries are clear. You've figured out that again 5 to 9. My own is AM, a little earlier than that. We start really early, and then 9 to 5 you're on the job. Okay, so you have those in time boundaries, and then your business aligns with your long-term goals. So what you're doing is aligned with what you want to do long term. Where you see yourself. So that's when, so again, for me, this is the part that I've taken. I took a season when I was trying to get Enstar Technologies, my for profit business, off the ground. I took some time off work. Now I was able to do that. Going back to the example that I gave earlier, when uh, um, I knew I had a skill set that was in demand, that will always, when it's time and I need to get back, if I did need to get back into the workforce, um, you know, I I had I had what it took to get back in and not be out of work for too long. And so I took some time away to build out the foundations and the structure because for the longest time we started off doing this. And again, I'm sharing my personal story. I don't know why I'm telling you all of this, but I really do want everybody to win in our community. And so I did. I started off, when my wife and I we started um our business then Enstar Technologies. We started doing the trainings in our house. So we started with the hybrid part. But we had some extra room, we had extra capacity, right? Work was fine, there was no kids, and so we could afford to take care of certain things by ourselves. And we grew it to for the first couple of years we grew it to a certain level and all of that, and that worked out. But at some point when it started looking like, okay, this is getting some traction, and this, it became difficult to be the one taking the calls and doing the social media and doing the graphics and doing the design and all of this, right? It became so like, hey, let's take some time and build operations around this. And then we started having children, so little kids, hospital appointments here, dental appointment here, business, work. It was a lot. And so I was like, you know what, I'm going to take some time off work, and focus on this business for a season, which I did. And in that time, we were able to build structure. I hired staff, all of the things. And when we, finished that season, now I'm back in the, working, but also, uh, um, building my business. But now I have a whole team, right? I have staff. I have staff for N Star Technology. I have staff with African Brand Collective. And so we do all of this. I'm able to work. We have, with African Brand Collective, there's a whole, group of amazing and incredible people who volunteer with us, who do different things. And so there's an even distribution here, and I'm not overextended. And that's one of the risks of the hybrid part is you're trying to be effective doing your job well, but also, you know, run the business effectively. You can overextend yourself without proper structure, without the proper infrastructure. And so that's a risk you run with this part. So again, make sure you have the cushion, make sure you have the boundaries, like clearly defined boundaries, and make sure it aligns with your long-term goals. For me, building and education, and serving, especially with the African community, that's my long term, that's my calling. That I feel like I'm called to serve this group of people, right? With people who have come through I clearly saw a gap when I first got to the US and coming to Atlanta. And for me, it drove me crazy. Like, why don't we have infrastructure in place to help people navigate the systems? People who come with experience and expertise who want to do certain things. Why is there no path for them? Why is there no place they can go and get counseling? Why is that people who are navigating immigration have to figure it out by themselves, or listen to people who might not necessarily understand, all the system wholly? And so that's what's led me to do the things I get involved in, the things I'm involved in. All right. And so I know that's what I want to continue doing, um, for a long time. And so that's my long term play. And it's an alignment. And so my skill, it's I'm able to keep doing my job with the goal of my what I'm trying to do in mind, right? And the key question you have to answer at this stage is: do I have systems? Do I have the support? Do I have the stamina? You need systems. Again, how do I make sure things are done? How do I make sure the phone is answered when it rings? How do I make sure emails are going out? How do I make sure customers are taken care of? How do I make sure I'm delivering my service? Do you have the systems in place? Do you have the support? Right? Are you in this with your spouse? Do you have a team? Do you have other people within your community who are working with you? Do you have the support to get this, to do this? And do you have the stamina? This part is key, right? Do you have the stomach for it? Because it gets stressful. It's a lot of demand and pull on your time, on your mental capacity. You have to switch code, switch. I was about to say code switch. You have to switch, from one person doing the work to the boss who is making the calls. And so, do you have the stamina, the capacity to navigate both worlds seamlessly? Get in and out of both realms. Uh, um, so, how do you discern your current season? Um, how do I make the decision on, okay, where am I right now? Am I ready to? Am I Is this my career season? And I think we've talked about this. I'm going to go through this very quickly. Um, Ask yourself these questions: what do I need the most right now? Stability or scalability? Stability or scalability? What do I need the most right now? Stability, you already know. You're a career season level, right? I can't afford all my kids are in daycare, kids are in school. I can't gamble anything. I need to have this money coming in. Scalability means, hey, the goal for me is now just maximize money, revenue, and all of that. So what do I need the most right now? That's the question. Maybe you're making a certain amount of money, or you feel like, man, if I could just do this, I could triple this. And you have the bandwidth, or let's say you're working. Some wife is working and wife is doing really well, and you're like, hey, if I could just invest this income coming from my job to a business or all of that, and then we can live on this one income. this I can multiply in the next 2 3 years and turn it into something big and something massive. That tells you where you are. You might be in the business, season or the hybrid season. So the second question you should ask yourself: what is my immigration reality demanding at this stage? Right? OPT, stay, sit your butt down. You're already restricted by what you can do on that OPT as somebody who's just graduated from school and their work visa. H1B, EB2, EB, all the EBs, national interest waivers. If you're anything pre green card, um, all you have is work authorization. You have to stay working. So resist the urge to go crazy on entrepreneurship or business. Um, because there are nuances around immigration, especially in the climates that we are in right now. It is wise to stay on the straight and narrow and don't walk any lines, right? Until you have your paperwork complete, don't work. You don't want to. And I'm not an immigration expert. I'm not a lawyer. So make sure you verify the things. But there might be clauses in terms of what kind of work you should do, especially if you're going through the student route. If you've gone from OPT to H1B, for example, what kind of work are you allowed to do? What kind of employers are allowed to hire you, right? All of those things. And so if you now go to a business, you're on OPT, but now you start doing a business by the side that is, let's say you went to school for a tech course, but now you pick up a business by the side where you are selling cars, or you start a restaurant or any something like that. Well, the expectation for OPT is you have to work in the field of your training. You see how this can get complicated. So, and this is again, that's an very abstract example, but again, make sure you are paying attention to your immigration reality. Now you're a citizen, you have your blue passport, you're ready to fly. So what do I need the most right now? What's my immigration reality demanding at this stage? And where is my energy strongest? Not just your desire. Where is my energy the strongest? Not just my desire. Yes, I want to build a big business and have 1,000 staff and do all of these things. That's my desire. But what's my capacity? Do I have the capacity that it takes to run a business? Do I have the skill set? Do I have even the mindset requirements? Have I do I have what it takes to fundraise, present, pitch to investors? Do I even know where to find investors? Do I can I articulate clearly what my business is, and what problem it's solving? It's not just that I want to be a business person and I want to be an entrepreneur. Um, but can I clearly articulate what problem I want to solve, how this is going to help the world, all of those things. And so, where is my energy the strongest right now? Not just desire. And so that's very important. Um, and then, what does this season require for me to say no to? All right, what does this season require for me to say no to? Again, focus is so important, as whether it's in the career side season, in the business season, or the hybrid season. You might need to say no to opportunities. You might need to say no to certain, things that come your way. You might need to say no to certain presentations and click out of certain YouTube videos that you're watching because it's making you try to do a certain thing or move a certain way. So it's focus is required to thrive in this season, and it's not limitation. Being focused is not a limitation. It's wisdom actually. It's actually wisdom. So I hope this someone has gained something out of this. If you're watching live, please give me your thoughts in the chat. I'd love to hear what you think about the seasons and determining your path. Whether to stay in career or hybrid. All right. Before I wrap up, I want to debut a new segment, and I'm calling this policy and the people. Policy and people. That's what this new segment will be called, and it's really the purpose of this is to lend my voice, and again speaking on behalf of speaking from the platform of the African Collective that I feel like I'm blessed to have and lead. There's always things going on in the immigration realm that I feel like, hey, it's important for us to speak to and react to and give our thoughts on, and I also encourage and speak to the community about, right? And so this policy and the people is going to be doing just that. It's going to be every week when I do this Driving Beyond Borders, I'm going to take a few minutes to dwell on what's going on, especially as affects the immigration space and immigrants. Um, the platform, it's going to be a space where we acknowledge what's happening, and and prepare ourselves and speak on how we can participate, actions that we need to take, all of that. That is the sort of policy and the people. And today, for my as we debut this segment, I really just want to speak on. There's so much going on right now in the immigration front. There is so much, right? There's so much going on. I can speak on so many things right now around immigration, um, and all of that. But most recent news, that I want people to be aware of, right? The United States government is pausing immigrant visas, immigrant visa processing for citizens of 75 countries starting January 21st, right? I talked about last week. I talked about the bond situation, visa bonds for I think 13 countries, including my home country, Nigeria, also been affected by that 5 to 15,000 dollars visa bonds to come on visiting visa, and now immigrant visa processing for 75 countries starting January 21st is also paused, right? And so we're talking about Afghanistan, Russia, Somalia, Brazil, Nigeria, Egypt, Thailand, and so there's a reassessment going on. So it's important for people to be aware. If you are in the process of applying for your visa, maybe hold off on things. If you are trying to process your papers, make sure you're talking to an immigration lawyer if you're here and you're trying to maybe file for your citizenship or file for your green card. Um, this is time to really consult with an immigration lawyer and make sure it's the right time to be doing it. Okay, so I'm not saying don't or do. I'm just saying talk to an immigration lawyer. We have our town hall coming up um, January 31st, and uh, we're hoping to have two of our in-house immigration lawyers be present, and this will be a good time to come in and at least have a conversation. And but I would say go book a consultation with someone and ask questions. We also want to talk about, again, sadly there's news around all the things going on in Minnesota with immigration enforcement. There's been an intensification on that across several US cities, and the consequence of that, there's more arrests, there's more routine checks. We had the vice president talking about, hey, ICE is being encouraged to go door to door, knock on doors and all of that. And so what that has led to is just fear among, you know, a lot of immigrant communities, especially African immigrant communities. People are trying to be careful around, how do I move, and all of that. There's organizations that really talk about how to navigate and handle engagements with ICE. If you have encounters, please do some more research on that. But mine, I want to raise an awareness. Please, this is a time where we have to be intentional about how we move. It's not time to be afraid or fearful. If you have your papers, you're good. Just make sure it's you have important numbers to call in case numbers you can call to get yourself cleared really quickly, and all of that. But for people who are in the process, who are in between their process, who have their paperwork in and all of those things, this is the time to be very careful, right? How you move and where you go and all of those things. It is super important that we are not everywhere at all times. You can't show up to everything. It's just a season to be careful. And again, make sure you're talking to and you have a lawyer, an immigration lawyer who you have their number. At least, if anything, you have a number to call that is somebody who is familiar with the law and can make moves on your behalf. Have their number in your phone, have their number memorized. This is not the time to go at it. If you are in between, if you are before green card, if you're in your pre green card stages, then make sure you have a lawyer that you have engaged, you have a relationship with an immigration lawyer. That is what I would you know say. And I would also leverage this platform to call for empathy as well. There are people, not everybody is, America has been at home for most people. We've called this home for a long time. Um, for some, they've moved for different reasons and circumstances. And so this is home. We contribute to the economy. There's so much data to show the value of immigrants. If you come to Atlanta, if you go to any hospitals in Atlanta, you see doctors, you see nurses um, of African descent. If you go to schools, you go to colleges, you see immigrant students who excel and do well. You see these African immigrants who come, do well, add value. It is a very small minority of us that are troublemakers, and we acknowledge the existence of those people, but that's not the majority. Pay attention to the good and the value, and the important work and contributions that we make as well. And I'm asking for everyone to have empathy, and a level of like these people. Nobody ups and leaves all they've known their whole life just for the fun of it. Right. There's a reason why people start a life, and we chose United States of America because it's promised us. It made us a promise. It announced to the world that this is a home, this is a contribute on immigrants where opportunity is equal, where if you come and you play by the rules, you will do well, you will succeed. And so all I'm asking is don't change the rules on us now. It's don't change the rules on us now. Give us neighbors or your friends. Our intentions are good, and we just want to live and take care of our families and take care of our lovers. That's all most immigrants, especially African immigrants, are looking for. It's just an opportunity. It's just an opportunity to do well and to give back and to take care of who they love. We didn't choose certain circumstances around, which has made us here. Even people who are out of status or undocumented, a lot of them, it's situations beyond their control that has forced them into that season. And it's easy for anybody to sit where they are and say, well, go back and then start afresh. You don't know what they're going back to. You don't know what they're going back to and the uncertainties and then all of the wasted years. And what if they never get the chance to come back? Everything they've built and invested, it's all for naught. And so I really want to, again, to every American, to, you've welcomed us into your country and we're grateful for it. And we'll continue to be grateful. We'll continue to do our part. But please, in this season, we ask for empathy and like, hey, we just want to live and give back and be a part of the ecosystem of this great country that we now call home. And some of us are now citizens of, and we're very proud to be American. All right. And so that is, my spiel today. And I hope it's somebody has gotten something. Please drop in the comments, what season, going back to the seasons, what season you think you are in right now, career, business, or both. And quickly before I wrap it up, um, we have our first community events coming up on the 31st. It's going to be at town hall. It's going to be an all come one come all event. Everybody come out. We want to talk to the community. We have a lot of things that we are rolling out this year, but we also want to talk about the current situation of things and how to be best prepared. So the details should be in this description somewhere or on our LinkedIn page and our social media. Please go check. You'll see our community mixer town hall, something that we call it. Please sign up for it. It's live on Eventbrite right now. I would love to see everyone, whether you are a part of the African American Collective, if you are African and you live here in Atlanta, or you are based here in the US, there will be a virtual component. Please make sure you sign up and join, be a part of this. We also are launching our first Catalyst program this month, the Career Reboot, and it's for career alignment. So if you were affected by the job market last year and you lost a job or you're trying to readjust, pivot your career, you need some guidance on how to navigate all of that. Then this program is for you. It's going to be 4 to 6 weeks of just working with professionals to help you reposition yourself to make the most of the job market. And so I want you to make sure next week we'll be opening up registration. Make sure you sign up. We want to get to at least 20 people signing up for that. And it's going to be incredible and life changing. So we want to make sure we win as a community. Again, our goal at the African Collective is to ensure that no one has to start from scratch. You don't have to do this by yourself. All right. And please, I want to encourage us. This is not the year to sit by the sideline. Make sure you're part of all, conversations around immigration. Make sure you're paying attention. If you're a citizen and you have the right to vote, then make sure you're preparing yourself for midterm elections coming up. Start planning for that. Um, all right. That's my spiel. So again, you don't need everything at once. That's the message of today. You need the right thing at the right time. Seasons matter, and yeah, again, with traveling beyond borders, it's really about, providing information, being intentional, and then being courageous in our careers, in our businesses, and in our civic voice. Again, I'm excited. I'll be back again next week, same time. Um, but thank you all so much for being a part of this one. I think this was a long episode, probably the longest one I've had. But I'll see you next week. God bless you, and enjoy the rest of